there is a silence that descends just before the hunt. It's a primal quiet, a stillness that echoes through millennia, felt by both predator and prey. I've spent a lifetime observing this brutal ballet from the shadows, hidden, waiting, listening. The most profound moments aren't in the chaos, but in the breathless anticipation before it. Out here, alone, the line between observer and participant blurs. You realize you're never truly alone. The water's surface is a veil, serene, yet concealing ancient, unseen dangers beneath. The fog on the lake that night was alive, swallowing the world whole. It wasn't just a weather pattern, but a living, breathing thing, thick, shifting, and impenetrable. The air was heavy with moisture, every breath tasting of cold mist and old secrets. My lantern's glow barely pierced the gloom, casting a trembling halo that seemed to shrink with every passing minute. My boat drifted in a void. No shore, no stars, just cold air and black water. The world beyond the boat's edge had vanished, erased by the fog. I could hear only the gentle slap of water against the hull and the distant muffled call of a loon. For hours, solitude was peaceful, almost meditative, as if I were the last soul left in existence. But then, the silence changed. Heavy, expectant, as if the lake itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Ripples appeared at the edge of my lantern's light, circling, deliberate, intelligent. They moved with purpose, not the random patterns of wind or fish, but something that watched and waited. I froze, senses straining, feeling unseen eyes upon me. The hairs on my arms stood up, and I gripped the side of the boat, heart thudding in my chest. The water was no longer just water, it was a stage, and I was being observed by something hidden beneath the surface. The fog pressed closer, the light shrinking, my heart pounding. The world felt smaller, the air tighter, as if the lake itself was closing in. Then, a thump against the hull, forceful, vibrating through my bones. It was a sound that didn't belong, a jarring intrusion into the night's uneasy calm. I held my breath, listening, every muscle tensed for what might come next. Another impact, stronger, the boat rocking, panic rising. This was no fish. Something powerful and aggressive was testing me. The boat shuddered, and I could feel the force of it through the soles of my feet. I imagined massive jaws, ancient and patient, lurking just out of sight. My mind raced with images of predators, sharks, alligators, creatures that ruled the dark water. I realized, in that moment, that I was not alone, and I was not in control. I lunged for the motor, hands slick, desperate, finally roaring it to life. The rocking stopped, but my fear did not. I sped blindly through the fog, not daring to look back. The engine's roar, the only thing keeping the darkness at bay. My mind screamed at me to go faster, to escape whatever ancient thing had claimed this lake as its own. Every second felt like an eternity, the boat slicing through the mist, my heart pounding in my ears. Behind me a colossal splash, a final warning from whatever lurked below. The sound was enormous, echoing across the water, a reminder that I had trespassed into a world not meant for me. I didn't look back, but I felt the weight of that presence, ancient and unknowable, watching as I fled. When I reached shore, shaken, I knew the lake held secrets, and I had been prey. I collapsed onto the cold earth, lungs burning, heart still racing. The night air felt different on land, safer, but the memory of those eyes in the dark water lingered. The surface is a veil, and we never know what watches from the other side. Out there, in the fog and the black water, something waits, ancient and patient, reminding us that we are never truly alone. The river was ancient, winding through untouched forest, whispering of history. Its waters had carved these valleys for centuries, shaping the land and nourishing the wild heart of the forest. The air was thick with the scent of moss and earth, and the only sounds were the gentle rush of water and the distant calls of unseen birds. Here, time seemed to slow, and the river's presence felt almost sentient, as if it remembered every footstep along its banks. I came for legendary trout, drawn by stories of fish as old as the river itself. The peace was short-lived, though. As I cast my line, I felt a strange tension in the air, as if the forest was holding its breath, watching me. The river, so calm on the surface, seemed to hide secrets in its depths, and I wondered what truly lurked beneath. Suddenly, a violent swirl erupted in the pool, far too powerful for any fish I knew. The water churned with a force that sent ripples all the way to the shore. My instinct screamed that something was wrong. The feeling of being watched grew stronger, predatory and focused, as if the river itself had eyes. Shadows flickered beneath the surface, and every hair on my neck stood on end. Then a V-shaped wake appeared, slicing through the water with unnatural speed. There was no boat, no sign of human presence, just something massive moving beneath the surface. My heart hammered in my chest as I stumbled backward, losing my footing on the slick riverbank. I fell, plunging into the icy water, the shock stealing my breath. The wake closed in, relentless and silent, as if the river itself was reaching for me. It surfaced, a monstrous, reptilian head breaking the water, needle teeth glinting in the dim light. Its eyes were pale, intelligent, and ancient, fixed on me with a cold, calculating gaze. In a flash, it lunged, jaws snapping shut with a sound like splintering wood, shattering my fishing rod as if it were a twig. The creature thrashed with a power that felt primordial, a living relic of a world before humans. Panic surged through me as I scrambled desperately for the shore, my hands clawing at mud and roots. My heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear the river anymore. When I finally dragged myself onto solid ground, the river calmed instantly, its surface smoothing as if nothing had happened. The only evidence of the struggle was my shattered rod and the wild terror in my chest. I realized then that I'd trespassed, and the river's guardian had delivered its warning, swift, unmistakable, and terrifying. Some places are ruled by forces we don't understand, ancient powers that have no patience for intruders. The river, with all its beauty and tranquility, hides a true face, one of untamable, wild strength. Here predators rule, and the balance of life and death is maintained by creatures older than memory. We are only visitors, and sometimes not even welcome ones. I left that place changed, knowing I'd been forcefully ejected from its kingdom. The river had reminded me that some domains are not meant for us, and that its ancient guardians still watch, waiting for the next trespasser to test their patience. The marsh was a labyrinth of reeds and cypress, beautiful and unsettling. In the early morning light, a thick mist clung to the water's surface, blurring the line between land and water, reality and imagination. The air was heavy with the scent of wet earth and decaying leaves, a reminder that this place was ancient, alive, and indifferent to my presence. I paddled deep in, seeking solitude, but the silence was alive with unseen life. Every stroke of my paddle sent ripples through the stillness, disturbing the mirror-like surface and sending tiny creatures darting beneath. The further I went, the more the world outside faded away, replaced by the soft rustle of reeds and the distant calls of hidden birds. Every sound felt like a warning. I was an intruder in a three-dimensional hunting ground. Shadows shifted in the reeds, and the water below seemed to conceal more than just fish. I could feel eyes on me, predators and prey alike, all part of a delicate, dangerous balance. The marsh was not just a place, but a living entity, watching, waiting. Casting in a still pool, the animal chorus faded, replaced by a low, reptilian clicking, surrounding me. The sound was subtle at first, almost like the ticking of a clock, but it grew louder, echoing off the water and the trees. It was as if the marsh itself was communicating, sending a message I couldn't quite understand. The clicks moved, coordinated, a chilling realization. I was being herded. The pattern was unmistakable, like the synchronized movements of a wolf pack or a school of predatory fish. I wasn't just being watched. I was being manipulated, guided deeper into the maze by something intelligent, something that understood the marsh far better than I ever could. I tried to leave, but the marsh twisted, passages closing, the mist thickening. The familiar channels I'd entered through seemed to vanish. replaced by walls of reeds and swirling fog. My sense of direction faltered, and the world shrank to the small circle of water around my kayak. The marsh was shifting, reshaping itself, trapping me in its heart. Splashes erupted, dark, sleek shapes in the water, fast and intelligent. They moved with purpose, weaving through the reeds and circling my kayak. I caught glimpses of fur and scales, flashes of eyes reflecting in the dim light. Whatever they were not afraid of me. They were hunting, and I was the prey. Panic turned to determination. I crashed through reeds, desperate for open water. My heart pounded as I forced my way forward, ignoring the scratches on my arms and the drag of the thick vegetation. I could hear the creatures behind me, their movements growing more frantic as I struggled to escape. The marsh resisted, but I refused to give in. The clicking grew frantic, hisses mixing in, pursuit closing in. The air was filled with the sounds of predators, snakes hissing in the grass, jaws snapping shut just out of sight. I could feel the pressure building, the sense that I was moments away from being caught. The marsh was alive with hunger, and I was at its center. Then a lure, identical to mine, bobbed ahead, bait for an ambush. It floated on the water, impossibly still, as if daring me to come closer. For a moment I hesitated, realizing that I was not the only one who knew how to set a trap. The marsh was using my own tactics against me, turning the hunter into the hunted. A creature lunged webbed claws, sinuous body, reptilian speed, mammalian intelligence. It moved with terrifying precision, a blur of muscle and instinct. Its eyes locked onto mine, and in that instant, I understood that I was facing something that belonged to the marsh in a way I never could. It was a perfect predator, shaped by this place, and I was nothing but an intruder. I veered away, paddling with everything I had, chased by furious splashes. My arms burned, my breath came in ragged gasps, but I didn't dare slow down. The water churned behind me, the sounds of pursuit growing fainter as I finally broke free from the densest part of the marsh. I didn't look back. I couldn't. The reeds thinned, the main channel appeared, freedom at last. Sunlight broke through the mist, illuminating a path to safety. Relief washed over me as I realized I had escaped, but the memory of the chase lingered, a reminder of how close I had come to disappearing into the marsh forever. I looked back. Silence. The marsh unchanged, but the scratches on my kayak were real. The water was calm, the reeds swayed gently, and the creatures had vanished as if they'd never been there. But the marks on my boat told a different story. A story of survival, of a narrow escape from a world that does not forgive mistakes. The marsh has its own hunters, and they do not welcome visitors. Here, every shadow hides a secret. Every sound is a warning, and every step is a test. I left with a new respect for the wild, and a promise never to underestimate the lure or the danger of the marsh. I returned changed, the wild solitude now tinged with apprehension. I learned the observer's role is fragile, one heartbeat from becoming the hunted. Nature is a kingdom, ancient and indifferent. We are only guests, sometimes unwelcome. The wild's true nature is felt in darkness, when silence is broken by your own heartbeat. Remember, the water's surface shows only half the world. The hunt is always underway. In the deep, dark places, something is always watching, waiting to rise.